Our next and last presentation will be by North Arrow Minerals, listed on the Toronto Venture Exchange under the symbol NAR. From the company, we have Ken Armstrong, who's the President and Chief Executive Officer.
Great, thanks very much. And to continue the theme, thank you for hanging in the last talk before the reception. So do appreciate you listening to this talk, which is a change in direction from what we've heard in the session so far. We're switching to gold and to the very front end of our whole industry, very much a grassroots exploration story, a regional belt scale opportunity to explore at a top tier jurisdiction in Botswana. North Arrow, we're an exploration group. We're based in Vancouver. We have a deep experience in the exploration industry, in diamonds and gold and base metals and a number of commodities over time. And we have just gone through a corporate reorganization, and part of that was driven by a change for us last year when we had a change in the board. Ira Thomas joined our board as chair. I've worked with Ira coming up on 30 years now, on and off. And we sat back to take a look at the company and figure out what we were going to do next. We had been focused on diamonds. We hit a wall in terms of public markets ability and interest in diamonds. So we took a look at a number of opportunities, and some were early stage, some were more advanced, some were in North America. But we settled on a project opportunity in Botswana, which is a country that we know well. It's a top jurisdiction. It's a belt scale, greenfields exploration opportunity. It's exploration undercover, and it's with a partner in Rockman Resources, which has deep experience in Southern Africa. They have over 3 decades of operational experience in Botswana. It's a group that we know, we trust, and we like. And between our two groups, we think we're bringing the right tools to try and evaluate this opportunity. Just a few words on Botswana. It ranks very highly in a number of different indices, and from the Fraser Institute. Botswana is a jurisdiction that understands the benefits that our industry can bring, and that's largely driven by diamonds. As an example of that, when diamonds were first found in Botswana in the late 1960s, it was the 3rd poorest country in the world. It had about 1.5 miles of paved roadway. Fast forward to the present day, and it's arguably the most stable democracy in Africa. There is free secondary education for the citizens. There's a public health care system that's available for the citizens, and that's all on the back of what our industry and the mining industry has brought to the country. There were elections last year. The governing party lost. The losing president called the incoming president, said, "We lost. I'm going to make sure this is a smooth transition of power," and it happened. There's been no headlines, no drama. Life is going on. Very, very stable place and an excellent place to be exploring. The other thing, of course, as I mentioned, it's all on the back of diamonds for the most part, those benefits that the country has seen. There is an understanding that they need to diversify the economy at large, but also in terms of the commodities that are being evaluated. So there still is activity in the diamond space. There's very active copper exploration in the northwestern part of the country. There's nickel exploration in the northeastern part of the country. Where we are, and our little star on this is in the very southern part of the country. And it's an interesting spot because it's within the geology that we're looking at is within the Kapval Craton. So that's just like the Superior Craton, really old rocks, great places to look for orogenic gold mineralization, for base metals, for magmatic nickel, copper sulfide mineralization. And the Kapval is an exceptionally well endowed craton. But if you look at the distribution of mines outside of the few diamond deposits, there are no operating mines within the Kapval Craton in Botswana. All of the operations are in South Africa. And a fair question is to say, well, why is that the case if this is such a great place to explore? And the explanation is actually pretty simple. It's the Kalahari Desert, which covers about 70% of the country, about 80% of the extent of the Kapval that sits within the country. And where we are is just the little blue area that you can see in the southern part of the country, right on the leading edge of the sand cover. And we think that is the opportunity. The exploration in this part of Botswana really just has not happened. And we think the time is now to be able to do that. We have just over 700 square kilometers of mineral concessions that cover the northern extent of the Kraaipan Greenstone belt. It's an area that sits to the north of an operating gold mine in South Africa that I'll talk about, the Kalgold mine that Harmony Gold is operating. There are indications of gold mineralization within this region, and as I've talked about, and I'll take you through from sort of first principles why we think it is such a good opportunity. Orogenic gold associated in greenstone belts, you look for deep-seated structures. They're very important. The Colesberg lineament is a major crustal scale break that transects the entire craton. It runs parallel to the Kraaipan Greenstone belt, about 3 billion years old. This would be, again, as a comparison to the Superior, it'd be like the Destor-Porcupine Fault in the Abitibi, or the Cadillac break. Deep structures that can be a conduit for fluids that can lead to gold mineralization. So we have the plumbing in place, but we also know that there is the endowment and that this plumbing has been used. When we look at the Kalgold mine, which is 40 kilometers south of the border in South Africa, it's seen continuous operations since the mid-1990s. It's operated by Harmony Gold, produces about 45,000 ounces of gold a year. It has another 12-year mine life ahead of it, plus another 1 million ounces plus in terms of resources that are not currently in the mine plan. It's an iron formation hosted gold type target. This is the model that we're looking for. This is our target that we're looking for, and it's important because we know those iron formations extend northwards under the sand cover into Botswana within these rocks. Best indications of what could be there comes from some work that was done in the 1990s by Reunion Mining. They did quite an extensive program right around the time that Kalgold was going into production. The drill results we see here, these are from RAB drilling, so rotary air blast drilling right from surface. We look at this as smoke, but sort of getting gram level mineralization over 5, 10, 20 meters right from surface, spotty, but the outcropping, the available outcrops are also spotty. You can also tell from this that the geological map is pretty cartoony. There's a lot more that we could probably pull out of this, and that's one of the key things that we're starting on right now. This is just an image here on the left of Google Earth images of some of the outcrops, and you can see they're clearly folded. There's a little bit of structural information that has been pulled from those rocks, but we've had a consulting structural geologist that we know and trust on the property just last week, taking a look at it to pull the maximum information that we can out of these rocks. They're finely laminated iron formations. We see alternating chert and magnetite-rich bands. In some places, we see alteration of those magnetite bands with sulfide replacement. That's the kind of alteration that we see in the Kalgold deposit. We need to pull everything that we can out of these rocks, and we're just starting that process. And we're going to use that information then with some of the other tools that we're going to be using to explore the property in partnership with our partner company, Rockman Resources. Rockman has developed a remote mapper unmanned aerial vehicle, which collects magnetic data very quickly, very cheaply, high quality data, and we'll talk on that. They also have in-country drilling experience with an RC drilling platform that we'll be able to use to test the targets that we develop. And they have some sample processing facilities. Largely, we're going to use that for preparation of samples to speed things up when we send samples off to the lab. And a deep machine learning platform that their group has developed. And that, I don't want to oversell or overstate what that could be, but it is a platform that was developed to look for diamonds, and it has successfully found new kimberlite deposits in brownfield field areas, including in the Acadie mine here in Canada. And these are targets that were drilled, proven to be kimberlites, that there's no human being would ever have selected them as a target. There's just no way. And yet they have made discoveries. So we're looking at, can this be tweaked now to look for iron formation hosted gold mineralization? So that's something happening in the background, but the work happening right now, as I mentioned, the structural work we're doing, but also using the remote mapper magnetic survey platform. So it's a UAV. It requires a pilot for takeoff and landing, and then it switches to an autopilot system. It can fly lines up to 20 kilometers in length. Can collect about 1,000 line kilometers per day. And it's basically ground magnetic quality data that we'll get out of this. It flies 30 meters off the ground. We are bringing this to survey the entirety of the belt, and we just put out news yesterday that those surveys are about 80% complete. We'll have them completed within the next month or so, and that, as I mentioned, will give us sort of ground magnetic survey data, sort of quality data, collected very quickly. We just announced this option agreement in October, and we're already about 80% of the way there, having the entire belt covered. We're then going to be identified target areas, and then we're going to drill them really quickly with an RC drill platform. We've been working to optimize this platform. The photo on the left is sort of the existing platform. It's 3 big trucks, very clunky, a lot of time between holes. We're streamlining that right now, so there'll be a single truck that has a compressor on it, dragging the drill on a trailer. We'll then have a rod handling system and a bucky, or pickup truck that comes in behind, so there's no offloading, there's no unhooking of any hoses. We're going to drill a hole, and then we immediately pull out and then move on to the next hole and go. And the idea is to be as fast as we can, and ideally drilling in the neighborhood of 4 holes a day when we get going. That photo along the bottom gives you an idea of the terrain. It's very flat, very, very easy to access these areas. So we're going to be coming up with a series of target areas over the next couple of months based on the magnetic data, the structural interpretation, looking at areas that are sort of second and third order structures that could host mineralization, areas around intrusives that we know exist in the northern part of our concessions. Very much going to be prospecting with the drill, but the idea is to do it fast and come up with discoveries as quickly as we can. The option agreement with Rockman is pretty simple. We're going to earn a 60% interest by spending $5 million US by June of 2027. There is then a secondary option. We can increase that interest to 80% by completing a PEA. Again, Rockman is a group that we've worked with really closely. We know them and like them, and it's very much a collaborative effort as we move along. So the work program really I've covered. We've already got about 20,000 line kilometers of remote mapper data completed and collected to date, about 20% of the property to go, so we're finishing that. The structural mapping and interpretation and target generation work is well underway, and then following that up with a 3-month drilling program. The idea is to drill as many holes as we can, so we're targeting somewhere between 150 or 200 holes rather. So it's not a depth thing. They're going to be vertical, down through the sand. We'll collect the geochem sample at the base of the Kalahari, and then into bedrock and collecting a bedrock sample. What we're looking for and what would be success in this program is going to be ideally finding mineralization, but really alteration and associated halos around mineralization that would be very similar to what we see down at Kalgold as our target type deposit. And then ideally we'll be carrying on with that drilling as we move forward and get into core drilling the best areas in the second half of the year and into 2026. You mentioned we've been in diamonds. I have to have a diamond slide in here. This is just to show that there is a backstop within the company. Those projects remain in North Arrow. This is a project in Nunavut, produces these beautiful orange-colored diamonds that are exceptionally rare. Tenure is fine. We can hold on to these and wait for a diamond market or wait for the right opportunity to move forward with this. This is the largest diamond resource in Canada that's not already in the hands of a diamond mining company. So it's sort of a backstop, but our focus is entirely in Botswana, in Africa, and looking at the Kraaipan project. I mentioned we restructured, so we did do a rollback. It's the first one we've done since 2013 as an exploration company. Our shareholders were very supportive of the change in direction. So we sit right now with just under 29 million shares outstanding, just under 9 million warrants. About 3 million of those will probably fall away by May. So they'll price just over $1. And then the remainder of those warrants sit at 30 cents and expire in April of 2026. We are ending the month with just over $2.1 million in cash, another $600,000 or so in equities, and our market capitalization today is about $3.7 million. So right at the front end of this, just getting going, but we are bringing first principles to bear in terms of trying to make a brand new discovery. It's part of what our industry needs. We need to make new discoveries, and we need companies like North Arrow doing the work to try and come up with these new discoveries. Exploration undercover is a place where we're going to make these discoveries. The nice thing here is this sand cover is not thick. We're focusing on areas that are about 40 meters of sand or less, because we're right on that leading edge of the Kalahari coverage at large. I would just say stay tuned, and we come to the fall showcase, and we'll have that initial drilling program will be under our belt, and really look forward to sharing those results with you at that time. So I know everyone's thirsty. Try to get through that quickly, but this is very much an idea, but we think it's a good one, and we have the team and the tools to really try and crack this as quickly as we can.
Thank you very much, Ken.